Bom, bem-vindos para a segunda palestra dessa tarde. É uma honra apresentar o Franck Loré, da Universidade de Rennes. Eu vou fazer a apresentação em inglês, para que todos possam entender. So, Franck Loré is a CNRS Director de Recherche, working at the Université de Rennes. He's one of the leading experts in the theory of holomorphic foliations. He has worked and works in many different aspects of the field. He made major contributions to the study of local forms and dynamics of foliations and groups of germs of biolomorphisms and algebraic solutions of plane-Levé equations and many, many more subjects. A proof of his outstanding originality and unique point of view is given by his argument to establish convergence of Takens' normal form. In the early 70s, Takens established a formal normal form for nilpotent singularities of planar vector fields and asked if it was possible to make it convergent. This has to wait until 2002, when Stroessner-Zoládek proved the convergence through analysis of an explicit iterative reduction process through long and very technical computations. Not very long after, Franck was able to replace this delicate analysis by a simple and short geometric argument. I will give no more details, but if you're curious, you have just to allocate 1 hour of your time, look for his paper published in 2006 in Annals of Mathematics, read it, understand it, and that's it. I'm sure that you'll really profit from that. So besides being an accomplished researcher, Franck Loré has great commitment in transmitting his knowledge. He gave many courses in all corners of Europe, but also in Brazil, Mexico, Senegal, and Niger. He had 7 PhD students, is currently advising 2 more. He's part of the collective of mathematicians called Henri Paul de Saint-Gervais, who co-produced a fantastic book revisiting Poincaré-Cobb uniformization theorem, and also wrote a precious book on the structure of singularities of foliations. Well, without further ado, please sit back, relax, and let Franck guide you through the wonders of complex geometry. I'm sure you will enjoy the ride.
You are very kind. Thank you very much for the invitation and this very kind introduction. Okay, so I would like to talk about neighborhood of compact curves. And so in the real setting, you start with a surface and assume that you have a curve here. And then I would like to understand the neighborhood of the curve in the surface. So I forget the rest of the surface and just look at this neighborhood. You have a cylinder, and it is quite different than this one that you have here, which is a Möbius band, which is not oriented, like, although here you have an orientation. So you have 2 possibilities in the real C-infinity setting. So I want to switch to something which is more interesting, which is analytic setting and complex analytic setting. So we start with so you fix a curve. So it is a smooth curve, which is connected, compact, and defined over C. So we have had a nice introduction to this by Cecilia Salgado just before. So a 2-dimensional neighborhood of C will be a smooth complex surface with an embedding of the curve inside the surface. So remind that the surface is of dimension 2 over C. So over R, it is of dimension 4, and it will be difficult to make some complete picture. And I will say that 2 neighborhoods are equivalent. So I made some confusion in the notation. I still did not by C the image in the surface. So you have, let me show. So here you have 2 surfaces that contain the curve. And they are equivalent if maybe passing to some open set, some smaller open neighborhoods, then you have an isomorphism between the neighborhoods which send the curve to itself with the identity. So the isomorphism is biholomorphic isomorphism. Okay. So example of curve first. The complex curves are actually locally like C, so they are real surfaces. In fact, Riemann surfaces. So they are classified, when they are compact, they are classified by the genus. So you see here the sphere, torus, and after you add holes inside and you have higher genus surfaces. This is the topological classification, but when you put the complex structure, you want to know when two such complex surfaces are isomorphic or not, and it is not always true. So for the Riemann sphere, there is only one complex structure on the sphere, but after, the complex torus has a one-parameter family of complex structure, and it is increasing with G. You have a 3G minus 3 dimensional moduli for the complex structure on the genus G surface. They are all oriented because holomorphic function preserves the orientation, so complex surfaces are oriented. So an example of this is a curve of degree D in P2. A generic curve will be smooth, connected, and compact, and the genus will be given by this formula. Okay, so let me introduce the Riemann sphere with more detail. So the Riemann sphere, I want to put a complex structure on the sphere. So I consider the sphere in R3. And I do the following. I take the North Pole, and given any point which is not the North Pole, I can project it on a given plane here, like follow, like this. So you obtain a point that will be denoted by Z. So I plot coordinates here, X and Y. And the point Z, for me, it is a complex point. So I view this plane as a complex plane. It is X plus Y, IY. So this is a complex number. So I identify the complementary of the North Pole to the complex plane. And now I can do the converse. I take a plane upstairs and project from the South Pole. And so, following straight lines, you find another point, Z prime. And Z prime, I can denote it by, let's say, X prime. So here I put a minus sign because there is a problem of orientation if you do this. And now, if you look at the map from here to here, it is holomorphic. I mean, the map Z prime of Z. Z prime is a holomorphic map of Z. So in fact, it is something like this, up to a constant. So this means that the two complex structures that you put outside the north, outside the south, are compatible because they are patched together by a holomorphic map. So it makes sense to talk about holomorphic function on the sphere. So after, we can go to the case of torus. So there is a one-parameter family of torus, of tori, so which is described here. You take the C plane, And you look at the group acting by rotation, which is generated by Z. So you have +1. And by tau, which is a complex number. And you act by translation on the plane. And you want to look at the quotient. So the quotient is given by the quotient of this fundamental domain. So you just have to patch so opposite sides, and after you get a torus, which is equipped with a holomorphic structure. And when you deform tau, you deform the complex structure. You cannot conjugate them by global holomorphic diffeomorphism. Okay, so now I would like to go towards surfaces, and I would like to introduce some important invariant. So it is a normal bundle of the curve. So when you have a curve, you can look at the normal bundle. You can think of this as the space of vector fields normal to the curve. So the normal bundle is defined by this way. You take the tangent bundle of the surface. So you have here the surface, here the curve. And you restrict the tangent bundle to the curve. So it is a bundle of rank 2. The fibers are isomorphic to C2. And inside this bundle, you have the tangent bundle of the curve, which is given by the vector fields tangent to the curve. So this gives you a line bundle inside a rank 2 vector bundle, and when you do the quotient, you obtain a line bundle. So you can think of this as something like this. You have the curve C, and you have a surface. So this will be N of C. A surface which is defined as follows. Each fiber, so it's fibers over C, and each fiber is isomorphic to C. This is a line bundle. So you have each fiber has a special point which is 0. So this is the 0 section. And it is some kind of approximation of the neighborhood. So line bundles already are not always isomorphic from each other. So you have the Picard group of the curve, which is a group which consists of analytic classes of line bundles. So it is isomorphic to Z times the Jacobian of the curve. The Jacobian is torus, a complex torus of dimension G. So you see that for the Riemann sphere, G equals 0, so the space of a line bundle is isomorphic to Z. So it has a group structure because you can multiply a line bundle to each other. And the Z part of the Picard group is called the degree of the line bundle. So let me explain a little bit more what is the degree of the line bundle, because it is a unique topological invariant of the bundle. Okay, so first of all, from the topological point of view, the germ of the neighborhood is homeomorphic to the neighborhood of the 0 section. And then any two-line bundle with the same degree are homeomorphic. You can deform one to each other. And the degree, you cannot conjugate a line bundle with a line bundle with another degree because it is also the self-intersection of the curve. So how do you define the self-intersection of the curve? You have the curve in the surface. So you take a smooth deformation. In general, it will be a C-infinity deformation of the curve, and in such a way that it is transversal to the initial curve. So you take this in the surface or in the line bundle equivalently, and you can count the number of intersection points. And like you have, since you have orientation in complex geometry, you can count with signs, and you have some integer, which is in Z. And this is the self-intersection number of C. And it is equal to the degree of the normal bundle. In fact, you can think also of Z, of this as the fundamental group of GL1 of C. Because this is the group structure of the bundle, and when you have a compact Riemann surface, you can delete some disk, and then it retracts. It is you have a retraction on something like this, which is a union of circles. And on an interval, a bundle with such group structure, a bundle is always trivial. On a circle, there is an invariant which is the connectivity of the group. If the group is connected, any bundle on the circle is trivial. So by this way, you can show that when you delete some disk, the bundle is any bundle is topologically trivial. But at the end, you have to patch together two trivial bundles, one on the disk, one on the complement. You do it on a circle, and this gives you a loop inside GL1 of C. And this is the classification, the topological classification of bundles. So here you have Bézout theorem. If C is a degree D curve in P2, then the self-intersection number is D square. Okay. So the first theorem is due to Grauert, I think. So we forget the topological classification, so this is clear. It is only given by the degree. Now we want to really see the analytic classification. And what you have is that when the self-intersection is negative enough, then the neighborhood is linearizable. Linearizable is by definition to say that the neighborhood, there is a neighborhood of the curve which is isomorphic to the neighborhood of the zero section in the line bundle. So here you have S with C, and here you have the normal bundle with the zero section. And so when the degree of NC, or the self-intersection of the curve, is less than 2 minus 2, G is the genus of the curve, so it must be negative also, then it is linearizable. On the other hand, when you look at very positive self-intersection, then it is another story. You have a lot of a line bundle, a lot of neighborhoods, sorry, which are not equivalent. So let me show. So there is a succession of theorems which are due to Ilyashenko and Mishustin, which says that if K is, I made a mistake, if K is greater, strictly greater than this, so K greater than sup of 0, 2G minus 2, then for each fixed normal bundle, you have a moduli space. That means a family, the classification has infinite dimension. So it is comparable with the C of xy, which is a set of convergent power series in two variables. And this theorem, these theorems, in some sense, follow from Kodaira deformation theory. So Kodaira shows the following. If k is large enough, so greater than 2g minus 2, then you can deform the curve. The curve admits in the surface a deformation. So I take a picture. You have the curve C, and you have a lot of other curves which are a deformation of the initial curve as a compact, complex curve in the surface. And you can use these curves to construct some convenient coordinate, and by this way prove this kind of result. So I have a picture of Kodaira Ilyashenko, but not of Mishustin, unfortunately. So I put Michael Falaluza, my colleague, who is here. And there is a reason for this. The reason is that we were looking at the result of Mishustin, so the classification in the genus 0 case. And we did prove it because we didn't find in the literature any classification. So I think the fact that it has infinite dimension is already in a Grauwert paper, but the true classification we didn't find. So we proved it, and by the way, I made a talk in Lille, and a colleague of mine, Sergei Ivashkovich, told me it reminds me something. And so he remembers that in Moscow he saw a talk of Mishustin. So we found it on MathSciNet after, and it was not so evident because this paper has never been quoted by any other paper. So it was a kind of forgotten theorem. In fact, he did publish these two papers and nothing else until last year. So it's funny because with the internet we cannot find everything. It is interesting to discuss with people also. Okay. So I would like to give some motivation for why do I want to study neighborhood of curves in surface. So how we came to this story. So there is first a paper of Arnold. So I will tell later about his work. So there is a famous work of Arnold about neighborhoods of elliptic curves. And in his paper, he claimed that it was related to the classification of analytic diffeomorphism near a fixed point. So assume you are given a diffeomorphism. It can be real analytic, for instance, a diffeomorphism like this. So you can already, you want to understand up to conjugacy near a fixed point. So you can already manage to put the linear part into diagonal form, if possible. And then if you assume that lambda is strictly less than 1, you have an invariant manifold. Let's say, for instance, mu greater than 1. Saddle case, for instance. So you have an invariant manifold. So the dynamic is like this. It is contracting here and dilating here. And you want to classify such dynamics up to change of coordinates. So there is an invariant that you can draw like this. So you look at this curve, and you take a transversal, and you look at the image of the transversal, and you patch this domain together with the dynamic. So you obtain a cylinder with the curve inside, the neighborhood of a curve. Okay, so if you switch to the complex setting, here you have the neighborhood of a torus, a complex torus. So you can always complexify the local diffeomorphism and look at this in C2, and then the quotient will give you a neighborhood of a torus with a degree 0. And so this is exactly the case that Arnold was studying. And I found another work where we find the neighborhood of curves, which goes back to Cartan, but mainly I saw this in a paper of Hitchin, which is as follows. Assume you have a local projective structure. What is this? So you are, for instance, in R2 or C2. You have an open set near 0, and I assume that I have a collection of curves inside, such that, like geodesic of a metric, through each point on each direction, you have exactly one curve. So you can lift this to the unitary bundle, or in fact, I prefer not the unitary, but so this is some neighborhood V of 0, and you look at the tangent bundle of V, and you projectivize the fiber. So the fiber are P1 fiber. And in this, the collection of curves gives you a foliation. They are separated because you have separated the direction where they intersect. So you have now two foliation in this three manifold. You have the green foliation, which is given by the geodesics, and you have the P1 foliation. And so you can go to the quotient by the second foliation, and what you get is a surface with many curves of genus 0 inside. So the P1 curves goes in the surface, and you have a neighborhood of a curve of genus 0. And so you have some duality like this, which appears also in a paper of a book of Arnold. And it is equivalent to classify this picture and that picture. So here you have the Cartan equivalence method to classify this, because it is given, these curves are actually given by some second-order differential equation. And on the right side, you have Mishustin's theorem. So here, genus is 0 and K is 1. So for instance, if you start with lines on the left side, on the right side, you have a neighborhood of a line in P2. This is the simplest case, but you have a huge moduli, infinitely many invariants in this situation. So I would like to give ideas of the proof of Grauwert and Mishustin theorem in the case of the Riemann sphere. So as I said, the Riemann sphere is given by this. You take two copies of C, and you patch them together like this by a map which is one of a Z. And you can do the same for the neighborhood. So you think that you have a neighborhood of the sphere, and you can cut the neighborhood into two pieces. Which are neighborhood of C and now you want to describe the neighborhood of the sphere as these two copies patched together with some map phi. So the map is like this. So you have, it is defined outside, so it will map this part to this part. So at least you have 1 over z entering 1 over z on the curve. So when you set y equal to 0, you have only 1 over z here. So it is the Riemann sphere, the usual patching for the Riemann sphere that you see there. And after you have nonlinear terms saying how you patch together the two pieces. So the patching is done along the intersection of the two copies of C, which is the sphere minus the two poles, so it is like C star. And so you have this is why you have Laurent series in the x variable, in the two sides. And after, you have an expansion in the y variable. So the y variable is a transverse variable to the curve. And here you have the x variable. And you have some convergent condition. So now, if you have a manifold which is constructed like this, and you would like to know when two gluing maps like this. Oh, I did not did. Phi tilde. You would like to understand when the two neighborhoods there, when you patch these together, when they are diffeomorphic. If they are diffeomorphic, you have a diffeomorphism from the left side to the right side that you can express in the charts. So this gives you something like this. You have to do it in the right way. So you will have some phi 0 here and phi infinity here. So two diffeomorphisms of the global neighborhood that make this diagram commute. So they are defined in such a way, so you have no more Laurent series because now these are diffeomorphisms that are supposed to be convergent at 0. So these diffeomorphisms there, horizontal diffeomorphisms, are global. So they are diffeomorphisms up to shrinking the neighborhoods. So we can play with this formula and compute the conjugacy problem. And for instance, we can look at the first linear term in the B side, in the right side. And then the conjugating equation becomes this one. So what does this mean? So I want to express, so I start with B1, which is defining actually the normal bundle of the neighborhood. And I can modify this patching function by two functions, one which is defined, which is holomorphic at 0, and another one which is holomorphic at infinity. So there is a topological invariant here, which is the degree. The degree comes back in the story. So B1 is a map which goes from C star to C star. And so you can consider the degree of this map. You look at the action of the fundamental group. So you take the unit circle and you look the image and how many times it turns around 0. And then this is K. This is the degree that we were discussing before. Then what you do is the following. So you multiply B. So B1, you multiply by xk, and after this, the map from C star to C star has degree 0. This means that if you look at the unit circle in C star, it is sent to a circle which is no more turning around 0. In fact, not only the circle, but the image of C star, the image of C star is not turning around 0. So this means that you can here compose with the logarithm, and you get a well-defined function on C. And once you have done this, so the problem becomes additive, and the additive problem is very easy. You have a Laurent power series. You want to separate it as something holomorphic at 0 and something holomorphic at infinity. And once you have done this, you pass to the exponential. And so by this way, we have normalized the first coefficient. So for higher order coefficient, you have also equation like this. Now, everything is additive. But you have some denominators which go into the story, which depend on K, which is the topological invariant of the bundle. It depends on N. N is the order where we want to normalize the patching map. And so I draw a picture here, which is what? So I have AN. AN. So here I plot MN. It is a set of coefficients. So you look at coefficients of the form XM, YN, and AMN. I would like to know which coefficient I can kill. So this coefficient lives in this. It is a Laurent series in M, so you have here Z. It goes on the left and right side. And upstairs, N, it is positive in N. And you have infinitely many coefficients. And I want to kill at most as possible of coefficients. And so if I look at what I can kill with alpha 0, then you obtain here the right plane after -2. So all coefficients there can be killed by alpha 0. You know the -2 corresponds to the 2 on the denominator, and also here you have alpha infinity. With this you can kill everything which is upstairs over the line of slope -k. So when k is negative, then you cover the plane, so you can kill all the coefficients for the alpha side and beta side. And now you draw the picture when k is positive, and you find that there is a sector for A coefficient and sector for B coefficient, which are not covered by the change, the modification given by alpha and beta, 0 and infinity. So at the end, it remains you some normal form, which is this. The patching map can be reduced to this form where the coefficients are in VA and VB, which are given by this way. These are sectors. And of course, you have the convergent condition also. So you can find the details in a survey with Michael Falalusa. So what you see is that depending on G and K, what we see is that Grauwert shows that everything is linearizable if we are in this area. And by Ilyashenko-Mishustin, you have infinite moduli space there. So this case corresponds to Cartan-Hitchin problem, and this case to Arnold problem. So I would like to tell about this case. So this is torus with degree 0 bundle. So in this case, the set of line bundles, which is Jacobian, is the torus which is isomorphic to the curve itself. And the group law is a tensor product. You have the neutral element, which is a trivial bundle, which is denoted by O. And there are two kinds of line bundles. You have torsion line bundle. Some powers is trivial. So this corresponds of a rational point in the rational multiple of the lattice in the Jacobian. So most of the bundle are not torsion. And when the bundle is not torsion, you can process similarly. And Arnold proved that it is always formally linearizable. Formally means that you can make the change of coordinate like I was doing before, but you have no convergence in general. You have convergence assuming some Diophantine condition, which means that when you look at powers, K is not a good notation. You should plot n, for instance. It is not the degree. You look at successive powers of the normal bundle, and so it goes inside the torus, and it will accumulate 0. 0, I mean the trivial bundle. And you look at the speed of approximation, and if it is slow approximation, which is this condition, then the formal reduction is convergent. And this condition, this Diophantine condition, is generic for the Lebesgue measure. But on the other hand, he constructed example where there are non-convergent cases. So when the Diophantine condition is violated. So to understand this, you have to understand the foliation. So there are foliation coming into the story. So maybe I show you a picture. I take a cylinder. So it is a standard construction in foliation. And on the circle, I look at two things. I have a fibration by circle and the horizontal fibration. And now I patch together the two sides of the circle. And what I get is a torus with two fibration. So this is an easy picture. But instead of this, I can patch, but after twisting by rotation. And if I do this, so I patch with a rotation, I will have something which in general would be no more a fibration. So I mean that on the torus, the horizontal curves will not patch together and in general will be dense. So it is the case when the rotation is irrational. On the other hand, it can close after some iteration, and then you have again a fibration. So you can construct a foliation on a fibered space like this. So here you have something which fibers over S1 with fiber, again S1, and a foliation on it. So you can replace this by the curve, which is a torus, and the fiber by C. And then by this way, using a representation of the curve, of the fundamental group of the curve into GL1 of C, which is C étoile, you construct fiber line bundles with foliation. So you recover all degree 0 line bundle by this way. But on each line bundle, you have a one parameter family of foliations. Then I want to modify this construction. I want to create something which has one compact leaf and the other one are not compact. So for this, I replace rotation by something like this. You have the circle, and you look at the dynamic with one fixed point, and the dynamic is going from this fixed point to itself by this way. So when you patch the two sides of the cylinder by this way, so the fixed point will give you a circle inside the torus, but the other leaves are infinite. The other point give you leaves that never close and accumulate on this circle. So in the complex holomorphic setting, I would like to replace C by a neighborhood of 0 in C, and replace GL1 by the group of germs of diffeomorphism of C0. And Yokos produced, among others, Yokos produced many examples with periodic orbits accumulated on 0. And when you do this patching construction with such a diffeomorphism, then you obtain a nonlinear example. So the construction I gave here, the suspension, is described in this book that you should read if you are interested. And to end, I would like to mention that so I recently worked on the formal classification of neighborhoods in the torsion case. So it is a joint work with Olivier Thom and Frédéric Touzé. And so the formal classification is something which is a little bit not so complicated. It is comparable with the space of polynomials. And what is more interesting is the structure theorem, which says that, as in the case of a linear bundle, you always have a pencil of a formal foliation in the neighborhood. This means that you have the torus, the curve, the surface. Let us forget the word formal. Then you have many foliation having C as a special leaf. And by choosing by using pair of such foliation, we can use locally the system of leaves of transversal curve as a system of coordinate, like we do in this construction. So it is a little bit tricky along the curve, but we can manage this. And by this way, we were able to produce a formal classification. But also, by using this and the analytic classification of resonant diffeomorphism, which is due to Ekal, Malgrange, and Voronin, we are able to produce huge moduli of such neighborhood, which is comparable with C of X, which is a set of power series in one variable. But at the end, I think we are working now on the general analytic classification, and we are optimistic that we will get it not very far, and that we will find this kind of moduli at the end. So this is a work in progress with Sergei Voronin, and this picture is, in fact, the main part of the analytic classification. It is contained in this picture. Maybe I say one word about this. So a very nice example of a neighborhood of elliptic curve is given by Atiyah and Serre. So it is a ruled surface, so a surface whose fiber is P1, which contains the elliptic curve C, so the torus, C equal 1, with a trivial normal bundle. But this is not linearizable. So there is it is in the classification of P1 bundle by Atiyah. And then Serre studied again this because it is the set of a flat structure, flat line bundle. You can see, so this surface minus the curve as the space of flat line bundles, which are related to the representation by the Riemann-Hilbert correspondence with the representation of the fundamental group of C into C star. But this is nothing else than C star times C star. And so you have an analytic isomorphism between the complement of the curve in the left side with, so I see into P1 cross P1, the complement of 0 and infinity, so these four curves. And this is analytic but transcendental. So for instance, if you look at, in this map, if you look at the neighborhood of one of the line, so this corresponds here to, to a sectorial neighborhood of the curve. I don't know if my picture is very clear. So it is something which transversally is like a sector along the curve. And you have a four sector like this, which correspond to the four neighborhoods here. So this is a picture there. And what we think is that for a general neighborhood of the curve with trivial normal bundle, we will have a decomposition, a sectorial decomposition, which will correspond to a picture like this, so a neighborhood of this purple curve. So to end, I would like to mention several people that influenced this work. So there was a work of Camacho and Movazati about neighborhoods of curves, and also Paolo said in the global setting, Paolo and Marco Brunella, who proved a beautiful theorem about an elliptic curve having a tangent to a foliation. And more recently, we started a work in the global setting, algebraic setting, foliation on algebraic manifold with Frédéric Touzé, which is there, and Pereira and Clodon. And this is how we arrived to this nice problem. So thank you very much.